last chapter of 96, chapter 13, it's talking about the conic section parabola and circles. And you have a straight line, a parabola. So what we do about all these conic sections, if we cut it with the page, with one page, you see all these pictures. So it's a parabola, circle, ellipse, and hyperbola. Hyperbola is pair of parabola. If you take two parabola and pair, then you have hyperbola. And then we have a formula for all. So like equation of the parabola, it depends whether parabola open upward or downward, right or left. We have equation for that. So what I did, I summarize all the pictures here. So for parabola, there are two types of parabola. One is open up or down, and these are the formula. One right or left, you see the pictures. And we also have it for the circle, for ellipse and hyperbola. So to do the problems, I normally have a copy of this page in front of me, and make it easier to go over the problem and solve it. And there are a few examples here for 13.1, which is graph of parabola and the circles. Like for the circle, if this is equations, H and K is coordinates of the center of the circle. Like if center of circle is at 0, 0, then the radius is R. So from this point, you draw a circle with radius of R. Or if you know the H and K, if H and K are not 0, then the center moves somewhere else away from the center. And then from there, you draw a circle with radius of R. Like here, find the equations of a circle center at 4 and -5. 4 and -5 is this point. So from this point, I draw a circle with radius of the 6. So you just go 6, 6, 6, 6, and you draw a circle. For parabola, if the formula is start with x and then y to power of 2, then this is a parabola open right or left. Like in this case, start with x and y2 and y on the other side. So this is a parabola that open right or left, which is this kind. So to find the vertex, this is a formula for the vertex, and this is the y value minus b over 2a. And remember, for the other one, x is minus b over 2a. So this is an example of a parabola that open to the right. And then we have a parabola that open upward. So in this example, you see the y to power of 1 is on one side and x2 is on the other side. So that's indication that you have a parabola that open up or down, which A is positive, so is open up. So this is an example of this type. All right, so now I want to show you how I go ahead and work on homework problems using the chart. So the very first problem is this one. Graph the following equations. What you could do, first you could just come up with some arbitrary numbers. Let's say, okay, if I substitute 0 here for x, what's the value of y? 0. When I substitute 1 or -1, in either case, when 1 or -1, you raise it to power of 2, the outcome is always 1, and then multiply by -4 is -4. So you notice in this case, in both cases, whether it's 2 or -2 or 1 and -1, they have the same value of y, because this is an even function. Anytime you want to substitute a negative number for the x, make sure you always do it with a parenthesis. Like here, See, when I want to substitute -1 for x, always bring it with a parenthesis. So in that case, you understand that -1 quantity square is always 1. So the outcome would be just -4. Same thing here. Whether you substitute 2 or -2, in this case, I'm sorry, this should be negative. Okay, so now how do we graph it? I'll show it here. What I do is, in the problem like this, first I find the right equation for it. The equation for parabola that has y1 is this. So when I write that under this one, then I notice that b and c both are 0. A is negative. When A is negative, see, this is this kind of problem. In this one, when A is less than 0, the parabola always open downwards. So we know that from the beginning, that parabola open downward. C is a y-intercept in this formula. So far, I have the y-intercept, which is right here. And I know the parabola open downward. Then I need to find a vertex. Vertex is x and y. X of vertex is minus b over 2a. But since b is 0, x is 0. When you find the x and you want to find the other value, you always need to take that and substitute here for the x. So y also is 0. So vertex is 0, 0. From 0, 0, and you need to draw the parabola that going downward. And then you need 2 extra points, and 2 points are given in the first page. You remember how I put 1 and -1? In either case, I got -4. So when you have these 2 points, then you could draw your parabola. The second one is, again, this kind of parabola. Minus x2 plus 8x minus 6. Okay, so for that one, again, I write a formula, which is y equal ax2 plus bx plus c. Writing the formula under this, it tells me that a is -1, b is 8, and c is 6. A is negative. When A is less than 0, means parabola open downward. So we know that. And we know C is the intercept. So we already know 2 points. We know the intercept and we know the parabola open downward. All I need to do is find the vertex. Vertex x, y. X of vertex is minus b over 2a. I already have the value of b and a. You plug it here. X is 4. When you find x equal 4 and you want to find a y value, you need to take this and substitute here in these equations to find your y value. So the vertex, you have the vertex, you have the intercept, and the parabola always has a line that goes through it. They call it line of symmetry. And when you have one piece of the parabola, the other piece is a reflection of this curve with respect to this one. You could just find the image of that. When you have this piece, the other piece is on the other side and is reflection of that. So 1 and 2, I didn't draw anything here, so you could practice. This is the solutions. And then we go to next one, number 3, same thing. Number 3 is depend what kind of parabola. This is a parabola that starts with x. So what you need to pay attention is when it comes to parabola, whether your parabola start with y or start with x, depend on what type of parabola do you have. And then you use its own formula. Okay, so this parabola is open right or left because it has these equations. You write the equation under that, you determine your E, B, and C. Now the vertex, when you write a vertex, in this case, y is minus b over 2a. In case of this type of problem, y is minus b over 2a. So when you substitute those, y is 2. Now when y is 2, you take it back, you put it here to find your vertex. So this is your vertex and this is your intercept. So the equation, again, what I have it is that this side. See, y-intercept is this and vertex is that. On the next page, you could see the graph of that. Same thing for this one. Same way, you write the equations and you notice here, there is no C. C0 means it has to go through this point. The vertex and graph is, again, on this one. You see the intercept, the vertex, and you graph it. Now, the next one is a circle. The equation of the circle is this: x minus a to power of 2 minus. What it is, there are two types of circle. One is that it has h and k are 0. H and k are center of the circle, and r is the radius. So if you don't see any h and k, if you don't see any h and k, if h and k is 0, 0 means you start from the 0, 0 to draw your circle, okay? Which is the case in these problems. So what's the equations? X, A, and B, or H and K, I should choose H and K. So H and K, both are 0, are given. H and K, both are 0 and 0. So if I take this and put in the formula, this is what I get as far as equations. R is 17, and what is 17 to power of 2 is 289. That's how to write the equations. The same thing, you know, you write the equation of the circle, you take the center and you substitute. Make sure you understand the sign here. R is radical 10 to power of 2 is 10. Again here, you take this H and K and you substitute here, and you notice negative times negative is positive, and 4 radical 7 to power of 2 is 4 radical 7 times 4 radical 7, which is 16. Radical 7 times radical 7 is just 7. Number 8, I have an equation here again. Number 8, they didn't give you the radius. They give you the center, which is H and K, and one more point. So what you do is you take this H and K and you substitute here for H and K, but then you use the other point given in the problems and substitute here. So then all you do is you have one equation with one variable, which is R. When you find the R, you put it back into the equation. So 4 is 2 to power of 2. So again, in this example, we didn't give you the radius, we give you the center and one point. So you use this point as X and Y and you substitute here to find your R. This one, find the center. See, this equation, it doesn't H and K or A and B. H and K is 0. So then you end up having this kind of equation. And the graph is on next page. So I want you to look at the equation and then see the answers on the next page. They want you to find the center. Okay, again, you write the equations. Then you realize that, remember, when you write the general equations, I put H and K or A, it doesn't matter, but I want to have the same formula. Remember, when you have positive 2 here, remember, when you have positive 2 here means H is negative 2. H is always opposite of this. If this is positive 2, H is negative 2. Positive 5, negative, always opposite, center, H and K. Same thing here. We don't have any K. See, here is x minus h to power of 2 plus y minus k to power of 2 is r to power of 2. Okay. H is 4, y, k is 0, there is no k. And R2 is 3. When R2 is 3, what's the value of R? Radical 3. And it has to be positive, it cannot be negative because it's a radius. And this is a feather graph. 12 and 13, I have the solution for you here. What we need to do on these two problems, we have to use the method of perfect square that we studied in the previous sections. Doing those methods, you remember we group x together, we group y together, and then we take half of this raised to power of 2, subtract half of the 8 is 4 to power of 2, 4 to power of 2. We do all this till we find these equations. When you find these equations, then you know equation of the circle is x minus h to power of 2 plus y minus k to power of 2 equal to R2. So again, h and k are always opposite of what you see here. If this is positive 1, h is negative 1. If this is negative 4, opposite of negative 4 is 4. That's the center. And R is, because this is R2, R2 is 125. So what is R? R is radical 125, which I have it here. Same thing for this one. You group x together and y together. You take half of the 2, raise it to power of 2, subtract, add and subtract. Half of 4 is 2, add and subtract. Then you take these 3 and this 3. You write a formula. This is your final equation of the circle, which is R is 5 and center is 1 and negative 2. And this is a picture for it. The same thing for here. It's a little more complicated, but it's the same way. You have to take, when you group x and y together, what is half of 3? 3 half. You add and subtract, raise it to power of 2, add and subtract. What is half of 3? 3 half. And then you come up with the equation. It's more complicated than that one, but the same process. So remember, this is a page that if you happen to print a copy of that, you could always use it for this class or future class because it has summary of all the formulas here.